And a good morning, Birds fans. Last couple of weeks, each day of the week I've described as undefeated. Undefeated Monday, undefeated Tuesday, undefeated Wednesday, because the Eagles were undefeated. Can't say that today. It is a manic Monday here on Birds 365, show number 630. And Johnny Mac, I got to tell you.
I haven't asked in a while. 6:30. I got to write that down.
The 629 previous iterations of Birds 365 are unlike today's because of all the shows we've done, and only however many of them, how many games the Eagles have played, 50 some odd games, 60 some odd games since you and I started doing the show. I have never started a show saying I did not see that coming. Even when the Eagles were alive. We started 2 years ago with Nick Sirianni when they fought their way into the playoffs, got beat by Tampa Bay, lost 8 games that regular season. And the whole time you and I have been doing the show, I've never felt so much like asking you, what the heck happened yesterday?
Oh, boy. Perfect storm. I mean, you lose the turnover battle. That's where it starts. You lose the turnover battle for nothing. You know, typically you don't even have a chance to win the game. So that's number one. Team that's good with ball security all of a sudden for 60 minutes was bad with ball security. And then you had the uncharacteristic, we just talked about it before we jumped on. Devontae Smith, 2 drops. That just doesn't happen. Jake Elliott missed 37-yard field goal. That just doesn't happen. It all happened in the same game. And then you have the injury, Lane Johnson. And we got to keep an eye on that because it's a long history of this team. This team's not good. It's bizarre. This team, don't get me wrong, Lane Johnson's an all-pro player, potential former Hall of Fame player. But you rarely see an offensive lineman. You see it with quarterbacks. The Jets are a perfect example. We all thought they were a Super Bowl contender or on the cusp of being a Super Bowl contender. They lose their quarterback. That's understandable. You take a step back. They take a step back when the right tackle's off the field, which tells you how important the right tackle is. And he, I think, played 9 plays, and you saw some of the repercussions of that. Just a bunch of things. And the fact that, oh, by the way, when we say the Jets were a Super Bowl contender, that wasn't just because of Aaron Rodgers. That was the final piece of the puzzle. There's a lot of good players on the other side of the football. Quinnen Williams, Garrett Wilson, on and on and on and on. And I'll throw the coaching in there. It's still a lot of hubris in that coaching. They thought they could do whatever they want in that game. To me, if you come out of that 2-minute warning, run the football, drain the clock, the Jets are out of the timeout, you probably get it down to about 105. Even if Braden Mann hits a touchback, and he was punting well, getting his revenge, one of the few players getting his revenge on the Jets. But even if he touches it back, they got to go 20 from the 20 with Zach Wilson with no timeouts and a little over a minute. And yeah, they only need a field goal, but I like my chances there. So a lot of hubris from the coaching staff. I'll throw that into the pots, the cocktail. And Jalen Hurts, uncharacteristic bad decision, on that 3rd down play, throwing in the double coverage. Everything that could go wrong, Newton's Law went wrong. And they lost the football game. Look, San Francisco lost on the same day to P.J. Walker. The Bills were a play away, a yard away from losing to the New York Giants. Probably should have lost if they just ran the football. A lot of weird things happen in this league. Usually they don't happen to the Eagles. Yesterday, they happened to the Eagles.
It was just a weird day, and the Eagles were as close to the top of the list as you can get. But I'm glad you went there about the final couple minutes of the game. Because, yes, we've been talking about this since after the Super Bowl last year, and the Eagles lost both of their coordinators, and they hired one from within and one outside to take their places. And the Eagles were winning games early in the season, 5-0 going into yesterday's game. but I hadn't really gotten a sense of whether the two new coordinators were holding up their end of the bargain, still learning on the job, long way to go. Uh-oh, this could be a bad hire. I was incomplete on deciding on both of those two guys, and I thought I would be after 5 games, but maybe I thought I'd be further along. Yeah, I'm sorry. Brian Johnson takes an L yesterday. How do you not try and run out the clock there at the end of the game? You just laid out the scenario. I'm saying the same exact thing to myself as I'm watching the game. You got to let Zach Wilson, with a little over a minute and no timeouts left, drive it 45 to 50 yards to then watch a field goal kicker who, oh, by the way, your guy who never misses one inside the 40. You got to put it on Greg Leg Zerline.
Well, he was kicking pretty well, though. But, yeah.
How's Jake kick this year?
Well, Jake was.
What happened for 37 yards yesterday?
But, I mean,
You're
in the
saying
game.
Greg Zerline's a lock from 50
No.
with the game on the line?
No, but in the game, he was kicking well. And obviously, all they had was field goals to that point. They had 4 field goals. So they couldn't get the ball in the end zone. Look, and that's where I bring up, yeah, you can criticize Brian Johnson, but that's Nick Sirianni. I mean, that's, he's the head coach. He's the game manager. He stepped back from being the play caller because he wanted to manage the game, right? That's managing the game. And that's why I bring up that word, a little bit of hubris, thinking, we'll make a play because we always make a play. And let's go win the game right now. I do think you have to realize the situation. If that's Aaron Rodgers, I agree with him. Go for it. Go for it. It's not. It's Zach Wilson.
The ball back. Right.
With 1.5 minutes and no timeouts, you almost know he's going to panic at some point, do something, maybe throw it underneath when he shouldn't throw it underneath. All of a sudden the clock runs, bang, you tackle somebody in bounds, game's over. Yeah, I thought he should have played it safe, and he was very aggressive. Now that I see both sides of it because that's Nick's nature, and that's this team's won a lot of games with that aggressive mindset, and it came up and it bit him. I just didn't think, and I think he pays. To be honest, I think he pays too much lip service about not disrespecting the opponent. In this situation, you got to be smart. Who cares what other people think? Who cares? It's Zach Wilson. Make him beat you. Make him beat you. Now, he'll say, I trust my quarterback, and he should trust his quarterback because the quarterback has earned that trust. And the quarterback made a bad play. Let's be honest. He made a bad play. So I get both sides. You need to trust your quarterback. And if this were, forget about Aaron Rodgers. If this were insert name last week, Matthew Stafford. Next week, Tua Tagovailoa, who's having a great season. There's about 20 quarterbacks, I'd say, you know what? Go for it. Try to win the game. This ain't one of them. I'm putting the game on his shoulders. And if he beats me, he beats me. But the defense was playing well. They only gave up what 240 something total yards, 155 passing.
And did Garrett Wilson have about 150 of those? It seemed like the only play the Jets made on offense all day was a Garrett Wilson catch.
Yeah. Well, he's a great player, by the way. Garrett Wilson would be a star already, and he is a star. But I think everybody would know him if Aaron was healthy, and he'd be having a great year. But he's a great player. One thing that frustrates me with coaches, and this is both sides. The Eagles had something going, obviously, with A.J. Brown. Fourth consecutive game over 125 yards. Devontae Smith, who I thought would have a big game, is uncharacteristically dropping the football. Dallas Goedert, you can talk about a couple drops as well. Keep going to AJ. Keep feeding AJ. And the Jets, I would say, not only did they not keep feeding Garrett Wilson, they kept, the Eagles weren't traveling James Bradbury. And they'd line him up on Bradbury. And he still beat Bradbury, don't get me wrong. But why you have on the other side, you have Josh Jobe and Eli Ricks. Before Eli Ricks, they're rotating before Ricks got hurt. Line them up over there. And they got and coaches get in their own heads and they say, well, we can't keep doing the same thing. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. They can't cover them. They're not traveling the good corner. Line them up on that side. I think they would have had more success, but they didn't do it.
Yeah, I know that it's Nick's team. At the end of the day, Nick is going to get the credit and or take the blame, and he took a goodly amount last night. His first statement of, "Well, the players talk to themselves, so I didn't even need to." I'm not refuting that. It's probably true. I said, but I'm going to hold myself. I'm going to hold myself accountable too, and he will, and I trust he will. I'm going to give Brian Johnson more grief than you are, though. And I was actually, for the majority of the game, I was okay with his mindset, which is they're down to their third string cornerbacks. They're bringing guys up from the practice squad to play against A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Yeah, we're going to throw a little bit more than we usually do. We're going to lean toward the pass because a good coach takes in the opposition. You just don't dismiss them. Although if there was a team to be dismissed before the game started, it was probably the Jets. You don't. But you look at them, you analyze them and go, how can we beat this team? And throwing the ball a lot seemed like a damn good game plan to me at the start of the game. But you also have to be able to adjust as you go. And you have to be able to see that something is or isn't working. And then the biggest adjustment is you got to go time and score. At the end of the game, you got to run 3 times. I don't care how much you try. If I had Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce out there, I'm sorry, I'm running the ball on 3rd down. You've got one of the best running quarterbacks in the National Football League. You don't want to try a handoff. You don't want to think about a fumble. Then just tell Jalen, who never fumbles, to hold the ball, take off, get 5 yards, take 10 more seconds off the clock, run 40 more seconds after that, and the Jets got to go long field to kick a field goal and win. I'm sorry. That's on the guy who calls the play on 3rd down. And I don't think Nick Sirianni called that play on 3rd down. He can say it's our philosophy and we're aggressive and we thought we could end the game right there. That was the play call from the offensive coordinator. And I just thought, I know it's 20/20 hindsight, but even before the ball went in the air and as soon as I dropped back and threw it, I knew it was going to be a pass, not take off and run. I'm going to myself, what the hell did they call? I'm sorry. That's on Brian Johnson. I'm not giving
I can't agree, specifically for the reason I just said. Nick gave up the play calling to manage these situations, to manage these exact situations, to manage the game. That's why he gave up play calling. That is on him 150%. It's also on the quarterback for making a bad decision. But I'm with you. They should have ran the football. I just said it. I'm with you 100%. Now, from that standpoint, because they make a bad decision, that doesn't give Jalen Hurts carte blanche to just make his worst decision of the game. Right. He's got to be smart enough. They trust him for a reason. That part of it, I get, like I said, he's earned that trust. And he made a bad mistake in a big situation. But when it comes to Brian Johnson versus Nick Sirianni, 100% Nick Sirianni. That's specifically why he gave up play calling, because he said, you know what? I get bogged down. I can't manage the game. I can't do what I want to do. And that is the biggest game management situation you can have. And to his credit, he takes 100% of it. I'm not saying Nick is trying to shoulder it, but I get a lot of people are going to say, well, the play caller made a bad play call. Well, Nick Sirianni could say, we got to run the ball. We got to run the ball here. Let's let Zach Wilson's on the other side. Let's force Zach Wilson to beat it. It was coming out of the 2-minute warning. They had plenty of time to discuss this, Jody. That is on the head coach, the game manager, the CEO coach, and then it's Jalen Hurts, and then you can get to Brian Johnson.
Okay. Here's a question, a hypothetical. Everybody on the stream loves my hypothetical questions that I will ask of you, John McMullen. Usually I ask of our guests. And it's one that I'm pretty sure even 10 years from now, if you and I are still doing Birds 365 and Nick Sirianni has moved on to become a coach for another team, because it could happen, because the Eagles
Everybody's got a shelf life.
Right, exactly. We thought Andy Reid might retire as an Eagle coach after 35 years of coaching him. Nope. At some point, they moved on from Andy Reid. So 20 years from now, you get Nick Sirianni. You see him at the scouting combine. He's working for another team. There's nothing to be gained or lost. You tell him, off the record, Nick, I'm never going to say this. I'm just going to whisper this in Jody McDonald's ear prior to one of our Birds 365. I'm not going to bring it up on the air. Who made that call on the play? Did Johnson call a running play? And did you overrule him and say, no, we got to put the ball in Jalen's hands. We trust our quarterback. Let's go for the first down and end this here. Is that not at least a possibility?
It's plausible. Yeah, it's plausible because he's in control of those situations. But I'm not even going that far. It's certainly possible that Brian said, let's run the ball. Nick said, let's go win it, because he's got an aggressive mindset. I'm not going to go that far. But I do know, because I've had these discussions with Nick Sirianni, I do know he wants complete control in those game management situations. So whatever happens is with his tacit approval, especially coming out of the 2-minute warning. So I don't know if he changed it. Brian could have very much understood what Nick wants in that type of situation and called the play and called the passing play and says, I know my head coach is aggressive, wants to go win the game. So your hypothetical is certainly possible. But to me, it doesn't even matter, because I know Nick Sirianni would have overruled if he wanted that football run and he wanted to drain clock. That's exactly why he stepped back and took the role he wants the role, because he wants to be the puppet master in those big situations.
I say shame on both of them. If you want to put that much more on Syria, right? He's head coach. One guy's the offense coordinator, one guy's the head coach. Who's going to take more of the blame? Head coach. Who should take more of the blame? Head coach. So if you put him in an order, Sirianni's certainly on top. The drop off isn't as great for me as it is for you. You think that it's 90% on Sirianni. I would give Brian Johnson a little bit more grief for that particular play call, and it was a game-deciding play call. All right, Mac, we got plenty to talk about. Eagles lose their first game. 49ers lost theirs, too. It's one thing Sirianni says, all coaches say it. It's tough to win games in the National Football League. I roll my eyes when coaches say that. But then you have a day like yesterday.
Well, they're right.
A whole
they're
bunch of games
right,
that you didn't see coming come down the pike. You go, yeah, they're onto something there about stuff to win games in the National Football League. He's McMullen. I'm McDonald. Mac. We've got two good guests for you, both Eagle-centric, both in the house yesterday for yesterday's game. Which, a quick note, people are all upset because I'm a Jet fan, still a Jet fan. I root for the Eagles. They're my second favorite team, but the Jets are the one New York team I still root for. I'm going to tick them off all again now. I got to give credit to, believe it or not, and this is just personal experience sitting in the stands yesterday, Jet fans. I thought it was going to be another Eagle takeover with the Jets at 2-3 and no Aaron Rodgers. And it wasn't even 80-20, John.
Yeah.
The Jet fans were there in force. I thought they were going to give up their tickets. And I heard one EAGLES chant when I came in the door in line waiting to get in. And that was about it.
Yeah.
You go to the road games all the time, and out in LA last week, sound like an Eagle home game to me on the radio, on the television. It was not the case yesterday. There were the Jet fans were there, and they were loud, and they were proud, and they walked out and went nuts at the end of the game.
Yeah, I always say with road games, you can only take over if they let you take over.
Right, Detroit last year. Remember you coming back from Detroit going,
I was stunned.
Believe.
Yeah, I was stunned. No, there were no Eagles fans in the building. Maybe 10%. Same thing here. Yeah. They didn't let them take over.
No,
they certainly would have. You only got to go 90 miles up to whatever it is, up the turnpike.
Easier commute as you get. Don't have to get on a plane to go anywhere. Yeah. And I did not think that was going to be the case. Much like the game yesterday. I had a bad read on that one. Also, the fan bases. I was surprised that the Jet fans were in masses the way that they were. All right, quick timeout. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, scheduled to join us. He was there. He just disappeared. Hopefully we get him back. He's going to join us. And then a little later, Chris Franklin from NJ.com. So keep it right here on Birds 365.